oath in Charity Showdown. That was a long, long time ago. Technically, wasn't even part of the PUBG Continental Series Circuit 1, 2, and 3. So you can count it if you want, but otherwise, this could be a history-making game. The only other one where a team got 4 in a row, which was courtesy to my friend Froz, was Na'Vi won 4 games in a row in the PCS2 group stage. Not the finals, though, so again, you can count it if you want, but regardless, the point is this could be a history-making match for LG Divine if they can win this. And look at the rankings now on Erangel. They were 6. It's now 25 points. A huge upgrade from just one match for LG Divine. And we'll see if they can close the night out in a history for them.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. It's great to have such a global community as well, Xenox, that you can get answers to that kind of a question so quickly as well. I mean, shout out to those guys for helping us tell the story of Apac, even despite being all around the world, and such a good global community that we have here in PUBG. We'll see if LG Divine can make history by getting all 4 as we dive into game number 4 of this evening. It's the final match that you guys will get to watch in Apac for the week. But of course, we'll be back next weekend with days 4 and 3. Circle shift straight over the center of the map. So nothing too crazy to start things off here. I guess the plane path was a little bit interesting. It was quite far over to the east. And Venotica has found one of the Unicorns players.
Well, there's at least backup. The cavalry has arrived, and 2 ends will be able to pick up that blue, and they can get out of here. Yeah, look, the plane path was a little bit shifty, but for the most part, I think the teams should be fine with this, and they are already quite comfortably spreading out to their loot locations. We just saw briefly they drop on Pachinki, Ferox, and Magic Esport. If you're not aware or you haven't seen the Erangel games, this has been a common occurrence throughout so far all of the matches on Erangel. It was only match number 4 from yesterday that we did actually see the 2 teams collide. Matches 3 and matches 3 today, there was no interference between the 2 teams. Maybe lucky 4, we might see it happen again. I don't think so. For the most part, the way it's been going is Ferox have been looting the north side of Pachinki, Magic Esports looting the south side of Pachinki. Once they loot up, they do kind of do like a little dance off and see if someone makes a wrong move. And if one does get caught, we did see yesterday that Magic Esports pounced. They did get an early kill. They collapsed on the other 3 members of Ferox, and that was about it. So if something happens, the observers, our wonderful observers, will jump back over that, but doesn't always pop off.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It's in an ideal world, it shouldn't. You know, that's the way that I think both teams would probably prefer things to go. I guess Magic, up on 52 points now, are really feeling a little bit hard done by that Ferox is continuing to drop in Pachinki. But if they're happy to allow them to do that, you know, it's pretty obvious that they are, because they're not trying to force Ferox out or anything like that. So for the moment, it seems to be working out fine for Magic. They've been putting in some good work on Erangel over the course of PCS 3. Victim Rise is one of those teams that I guess might be a little disappointing so far, I would say. They're down in 11th, and we've seen them quite a few times in PCS so far in Apac, and might have thought that they would have been a little higher up on the standings, but it is a fairly strong field. I sort of look at the top 8 and I think, who would you actually take out of that top 8 right now? And I don't think that there is anyone that you would really take out there, to be honest.
Yeah, who would you be putting in?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I would be putting in Victim Rise, but who would I be taking out is the question, and the answer is probably none of them. I guess maybe Magic, right, is the surprising factor, because they are sort of a newly formed team, and not a team that we had a whole lot of intel on.
Yeah, but based on the history.
Yeah, based on the history. But aside from that, every team that we've got there has played in PCS before. Even Sharper, which is a team that, you know, maybe people won't recognize based on their name, but it's 3 out of 4 of the members of Golden Cat. So no surprise to see them up in the top 8 as well. And yeah, I mean, I guess PCS 3 so far is showing us, I would say, the highest level of competition that we've got from PCS. We were a little, you know, we were reminiscing a little bit after last night's broadcast and off the air, saying that it was nice that there wasn't a team that had sort of run away with things, and it was kind of keeping the games interesting and the matches, you know, a bit of a discussion about a top 4 as opposed to a top 1. That seems to have fallen by the wayside a little bit tonight. So unfortunately, we don't get to have a real battle for first place at the moment, but Look, it is definitely a great start for LG Divine, but it's not uncatchable at the moment. Obviously,
Yeah.
the longer we go through the season, once we get into day 3, once we get past the halfway mark, and then we're on the downhill stretch, we'll probably start to change our tune a little bit. And it is definitely going to be tough for even Fury to catch up to them, but they can do it.
Is this like the Hunger Games and Mishka's just like paid to send a crate into Ferox?
Team Ferox with a lovely donation to PCS3. Thank you very much. And here is your loot crate.
Grozer in there as well, which will be acquired by Monty. Yeah, look, I agree with you. I was very much happy about a top 4 that we had. PCS 1, Apac was essentially the Golden Cat show. PCS 2 became a bit of a 2-horse race. Actually, no, it was more of a 3-horse race, and Buriram did drop off a little bit towards the end. Fury kept going, obviously matching with LG Divine. So I think LG Divine have been so great, though, to watch at their absolute peak, that I'm not sure whether or not I would want to see teams like Magic Esports and Buriram keep going and putting the pressure on them, or maybe just sit back and watch the spectacle that is LG Divine and just see them run away with it. And I'm sure that people have chosen them for their pick'ems, which will be much more amount of people picking them after this weekend. We'll definitely enjoy watching LG Divine run away with things, as I think they've got a good position here so far for phase 1. 2 minutes until phase number 2. Fury on the early rotation. No kills yet, no knocks yet either. They've only gone 7 minutes here for the final match of the night. A reminder that, of course, in a few hours after this will be PCS3 Europe, as Flood is going to be knocked by Neferhor, former teammates from PCS2. Flood, obviously part of Bay, and swapped over to Fury. And this is not looking good for Fury, though.
No, it's certainly not. Although it's not looking amazing for Neferhor either. Sophia, he's just sending it straight at Waikikamuki. I'm not sure about that one. How? Oh my god, I thought he was going to win that duel. Waikikamuki, though, does hang on to it in the end. That was unbelievable. Waikikamuki also gets the knock on Neferhor, but they haven't been able to save Flood because Jukesy lands a nade right on top of him. There's a little bit of revenge for both teams involved. I don't know that Neferhor will survive here, though. Waikikamuki knows more or less where he is. LG Divine is lurking. And I'd say this could be some pretty hefty points on offer. Wow, Buriram's rocked up as well.
What is going on?
This is a feeding frenzy. The sharks are circling. They've sensed the blood in the water, and Bay and Fury are the bait.
Yeah, they're the tuna right now, struggling to get away from these sharks. Insight knocked by NemC. What a horrible way to end the night for Fury. Ronan and Waikikamuki are just trying to get out of here alive. If these two can get out, 2 kills, despite the fact that they lost Insight and Flood, I've seen enough of these two in particular. During clutch moments, they do come up big, especially the likes of Ronan. So you wouldn't count them out just yet, but they are going to have themselves a bit of an uphill battle for the remainder of match number 8 here, our final game of the night. And well, they are actually heading uphill as well, literally. As for Bay, they're also in a pretty tough spot too, down to 2 remaining players. Nan's just rocked up for Angel Alliance to try and help out here against the push of Buriram, but he's taken a nade to the face by Kanaxi, who takes out Nan. Unfortunately for Angel Alliance, Jordan, the fairy tale run seemingly has come to an end. They've only picked up 1 point for the entirety of day number 2. They're actually going to get their 2nd point here because Evil Patrick will get Kanaxi. And that's not good news for Buriram. Great news for LG Divine because all these teams directly below them falling by the wayside.
Certainly are. Edie has gotten the knock though onto Evil Patrick, so a bit of stabilization there, at least for Buriram. We'll send the Angel Alliance players scurrying away. That UAZ looking a little worse for wear, stuck on the rock, but a grenade will set it loose, I'd say. And it seems that Mad Dog and whoever's up there with him going to be able to get away from this one okay. Angel Alliance, though, don't get out of that scot-free at all. They've dropped down to 10th place. Came into today somewhere around 4th or 5th.
They were 3rd.
3rd even. Yeah, there you go. So, has been quite a fall from grace for them.
Yeah, 3rd with 37 points. A big drop-off. Only the 2 points gained. So, it's a little disappointing because I really felt the way they were playing on day 1, they could continue that sort of performance. It's not as if they were just getting lucky. They were balling out. Mad Dog was fragging out. They were positioning well. It really looked like good signs. Unfortunately for the Philippines team, it has Well, as I said before, fallen by the wayside very, very quickly, Jordan.
This is a rough one for Fury. Still looking for somewhere to pull up around Potato Hill at the moment. Lots of real estate being locked up. LG Divine, I'm just watching on the mini-map where they're going. They're going to be a hot topic, a big talking point today. They've worked their way into apps. So it's not a center circle position just yet, but it's not a terrible position, and we have seen quite a lot of apps finishes.
It has to be a pit stop, though, surely. I mean, with the way that Phase 2 is right now, they can hold here to see what happens with Phase 3, because if it does go north, I guess it is a decent position. But, yeah, apps is not really the place you want to be if you're going to look for that chicken dinner, unless it's a complete hard feed on apps. I actually don't want to see apps because I find it to be a little bit too chaotic. I'd love this to go a bit more to the southeast around Potato Hill. I think it would be really a much better battlefield to see whether or not LG Divine can get 4 wins in a row. If it goes to apps, it just becomes a bit of a crapshoot.
Fury are on the scenic route at the moment. They have pretty much driven through the entire map. Waikiki Mukau gives the tree a good honk as he lands straight in front of it. Yeah, this is such a rough one for Fury because everywhere that they've tried to pull up, someone has already been there and someone has already been shooting at them. So they've gone all the way down to the southern part of the map. They've got to pretty much be happy with the dregs as far as stopping locations are concerned, because there isn't really anywhere else that they can go with only a couple of players this late. A vehicle not looking too crash hot for Waikiki Mukau either. He's, almost on fire, so need to be aware of that as well.
I like Sharper Esports' position here a little bit better. The compounds north of Pachinki, they got Maximus and Kim Siva. They got Six Sacks on this hill south of school and apartments, and then they got Tanoi in school. So just in case it does go north, they can adjust over to school potentially or the hill position. If it does stay around sort of
northeast,
right on top of LG Divine, at this point, why not?
Well,
I like this circle though because it opens up Potato Hill. You got the Pachinki fields as well. Really opens up the gameplay a lot better than say an apartments finish. This is really good, and it also is going to test the steal of LG Divine because they do need to leave those apartment buildings now. It's no longer the place to be. Tanoi's got the hint as well in school, which is obviously right next to apartments. So he's going to move over to Maximus and Kim Siva. A good position for Sharper Esport. Divine may elect to stay here until Phase 4, but they are going to have to move, surely. Purple Mood, not sure why they don't just move down. Check out Potato Hill, which I think Burere might end up taking, actually. It's a really good position for this point in the game. As Waikiki Mukau and Ronan on your screens, the dynamic duo. As I said, they've got 2 kills. If they can find 2 kills and 2 placement points, job done from here on out. So
it looks
4
like
kills overall.
Finally found a motel that they're happy with, you know? They've been able to...
They've checked in.
Yep, they've checked in for at least the next circle. So they've got a little bit of respite for now. But it did sort of feel like they were going to just spend the whole game driving. You know, I used to know a guy back when PUBG first started, first came out, where his strategy was literally to just drive around the whole time. And he, for some reason, was able to make it work. Obviously, these were different days when PUBG was still sort of being figured out.
How did he get kills?
He ran people over.
Okay.
Now, obviously, it didn't work when there was a city finish, but in a field finish, he just kept driving, and no one seemed to shoot cars back then, so it was quite an interesting time to be playing. Anyways, that aside, not the strategy that Fury are going for at the moment, and we're seeing most of these teams rotate down. Now, interestingly, LG Divine haven't actually opted to leave the apartment, so they're happy to hole up there. Hydra Gaming, though, might be the ones to actually end up on Potato Hill. They've been sort of corralled in that direction by Sharper and Bay.
Well, as I said, I think they're just going to have to wait till Phase 4 now, and that's probably the plan. No point leaving the apartment buildings until the circle takes the apartment buildings out for you, because if it does shift in any way, shape, or form onto those apartment buildings, then LG Divine are already situated for that. But I highly doubt, from the way that this Phase 3 circle has situated, that it's going to shift over there. From the future, making their way close by, Day Trade, Angel Alliance, Fury. There are a few wounded teams down to the south. Fury Ram United to the southeast at the moment as well, with just the 3 players. So I guess the teams that are injured just sort of seeking refuge down to the south. Potato Hill still completely open for the taking. But at this point, I would imagine every team is just sitting there like, yeah, surely that's taken.
Maybe. Basically, perfect center circle shrink. Maybe favoring the west a tiny bit. So Magic, who's in Pachinki, will be actually quite happy to see that. But now you're starting to think, okay, who's got the best position for this circle? And for mine, it'll be Cerberus with those barns having such a great vision onto Pachinki. Bay as well in that house that's just north of the barns. 2 very, very strong positions in a circle like this.
I'm just trying to look at the circle and see how this can play out. And I'm thinking more so the edge play. I mean, obviously you're looking at it from who's center, Cerberus, Hydra Gaming, Bay, for instance, is Division X Neil just making his way over here. He's actually going to catch an edge of that Molotov. And then is going to be knocked and finished very shortly after that. It's going to be Magic Esports Tonkay finding that kill. But I can see a situation where a team like LG Divine rotates towards the east and sort of wraps around with the blue, clearing teams along the way. Doesn't quite fit their playstyle in the way that they tend to prefer the center.
Yeah.
Bureau Ram's in a good position to do that, but they've only got the 3 players. I could see Day Trade also doing it as well. So wouldn't be surprised to see one of those 3 teams in towards the end with a high kill point game as Unicorn going to make their mad dash breach onto Magic Esport, which the way that Magic Esport have been playing PCS3 Apac so far does not bode well for Unicorn. The nade from Dat Blue actually pretty well placed and well primed, and not successful though. Unfortunately, I think it actually went down into the stairwell. So Lolzy on the kill feed will take out Poo Chills. Day Trade lose their advantage. They're down from 4 to 3. They actually pushed into those farmhouses onto Cerberus.
Yeah,
so that
Cerberus
fight has
breached.
been going on at the moment while watching this one too on the edge of Pachinki. And this circle, I guess, for Phase 4 has really lit the fuse on this final match of the day. It was slow going for the first 15 minutes, but from here on out, I don't think it's going to slow down at all.
Oh, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath, isn't it, Xenox? Victim Rise are the team that is trying to hold off LG Divine, and that is never an easy task, but they're not a bad squad, and they might just be able to do it with the positional advantage they have up the hill. A little bit of hard cover to play with. LG Divine, at the very least, have got themselves into the edge of the circle, though. You're talking about it, that edge play, it's not really LG Divine's style, but now their hand is sort of being forced, and they're going to have to show us what they can do when they're put off kilter a little bit.
Yeah. They're not in the best position in this fight. They're going to have to work hard for it. Fortunately, they are a team that does pretty well, regardless of the situation. If they find a knock, they'll punish, they'll push, they'll be aggressive. If they don't have the information, they'll play safe, they'll play a bit passive, work with what they've got. You can see LG Divine's Levi's just flickering between using that nade or not using the nade. Now elects to throw it out. Look how close together Victim Rise are. They're playing scared. LG Divine is spread. Even though they're in the worse off position, they're the aggressors here. And Victim Rise just don't look ready for this. They might be able to get lucky, find a knockdown or 2, but they're just not really looking like the team that wants to take this fight right now. I mean, Chibber, it looks like he's ready to get in that dance here and get out of here.
In the meanwhile, Magic and Day Trade have both been eliminated, so we'll eagerly await where this next circle shift is going to come in. How many grenades does LG Divine have, by the way? They've just been throwing nades this whole time. Yeah, it's gone south over towards the east a little bit. There's a knock onto NAMC. Good spray from Genfos. First player down for LG Divine. Unlikely to be rezzed, and now you're starting to see the third parties maybe come into effect. Purple Mood looking down the hill. Sharper Esport coming across. They hear these shots. It's not going to be fun for LG Divine or for Victim Rise.
I think LG Divine have just slightly misplayed this. NAMC got too aggressive, had no reinforcements close to him, so if he does get knocked, it's going to be essentially his death. And I think LG Divine haven't moved enough, right? Now they got the blue at their back, which is going to start moving in 10 seconds time. They haven't rotated a bit to the south, so they've kept themselves in this really bad position because they've been too eager on trying to flush out Victim Rise. Now they've had another player knocked down, which I believe is Nikki. It doesn't look like this is going to be 4 in a row for LG Divine. If they can pull it off from here, it would be a saint miracle. Victim Rise have held firm to their credit at this little compound. Kim Siver, though, opens this up with a knockdown onto Gibberit. Nikki's knocked again. by Camels. And this time, he is not going to be brought back up. Jun's gone. Levi's is low. LG Divine are unfortunately going to end the night in not so great style, despite the fact they won 3 in a row earlier on. They've won 5 of 8, but it's not going to be 6 of 8, Jordan, surely.
Oh, well.
Not.
I mean, this is more than enough done already from LG Divine tonight. You can't be disappointed with it, even if it is going to be a rough ending for them. They've got more than enough done. They're at 91 points out of 8 games, for God's sake. It's just... They're going at more than 10 a game, which...
Yeah.
Like, more than 11 a game. So...
Well, this is the end of Levi's here, though. So 91 points will be the resting place until next weekend for LG Divine. JetForce was the one who started it, along with Chipperit. He will end it. Victim Rise, to their credit, I kind of backed against them in that fight. But they held strong, they held firm, they didn't get sucked in by the pressure of LG Divine. They played patiently, they waited for an opportunity, they got that knock, and they weren't even really able to go off of that because Sharper Esport came in from the other side. So they were dealing with Sharper Esport. And, well, in the end, Sharper Esport is the team that sends them packing. 3 kills for 6 sacks. So LG Divine are out, but here's the thing. Magic Esport are out. Fury have only got 2, and Buriram have only got 3. So those direct teams below LG Divine aren't going to necessarily bridge that gap in this particular game.
No, definitely not. Buriram, though, with 3, maybe. Maybe a bit of an argument to be made. We'll see how they go. They're always a good edge team, and they are on the edge with a decent number of players alive. Division X Gaming, or rather Long K, trying to pressure Ferox away as quickly as possible. Luckily for him, Sharper was firing shots into the back of Ferox. That's kind of kept him alive for a little longer, but Zone's going to finish him off in the end. Ferox inside the circle, but they won't be happy to see that kind of a shift. That is a very hard one for them to make work. All the way down to the southeast. They've got the longest route, and they have to go up the hill. They've got Sharper, who's watching them already. If they go on the other side of the hill, they'll be open to the field, which is where Bay is. Cerberus still in their barns. So this is damned if you do, damned if you don't for Ferox. I like this decision at the very least going in the direction of Sharper. They kind of have to. Better the enemy that you know than the one you don't.
Nine teams remaining. Final game of the day. PCS3 Apac. Of course, we'll have a break during the week, and we'll be back next weekend. Still 16 games to go after this conclusion of match 8. We're a third of the way through, though. After this is all said and done, LG Divine have got a decent lead. It could have been higher, but they did fall early in this match. Jukesy's knocked by Hisaki. Cerberus, they had that farmhouse position. They haven't moved from it. They've been able to get involved in terms of knocks and kills. They had teams breach them. And yet, throughout all of that, they've kept all 4 players up. This is the game they needed to have to keep up with the top 4, top 5. And Ferox have continued their turnaround from day 1. They've almost picked up 30 points here on day 2. If they had been able to do that on day 1 as well, they'd be sitting second right now. So a massive turnaround for Ferox. And it's not too little too late. They're only 23 points from second with 16 games to go. So a lot to play for them. A good sign.
Well, it's exactly what we were talking about at the start of the game. We said there was a bottom 5. Now, 3 out of those 5 have actually turned their fortunes around. Bay have done the best of it. They're up to 42. Ferox done a really good job as well, up to 33. And From the Future, who are on 32, might actually be able to increase that quite substantially this game as well. That's the end of Ferox for today, but they can be much happier with what they were able to put in on day 2. Compared to day 1, and they've gotten themselves out of that bottom of the pack position. 14 points for Purple Mood, 8 for Unicorns, and it's now a bottom 2.
I'm starting to believe in Fury in this match. Waikiki, Ronin, Southside. The only team that's close to them is Angel Alliance, which is Mad Dogs and Algin Bots. They're only a duo as well. So there's no advantage or disadvantage in terms of numbers there. Down to the south, there goes Battle Arena Elites in 8th position. Ronin has pushed in. And those teams up north are all going to battle each other. They're all going to wound each other. And by the time they get down to the south and potentially take on a team like Fury, it might just be a bit more of an even playing field. This game may still have some twists left in the tail. Buriram's another team as well. You certainly can't count out. You mentioned before, they got 3 up. They are going to get involved very, very shortly against Purple Mood, you would think. Or Purple Mood, actually, the way they're rotating is more so towards from the future. So they're moving away from Bureau Ram. Boss Sense is just going to surprise Gypsy Danger, and from the future sent packing in 6th very, very quickly. Waiki Kamukau loses out to Mad Dog. Ronan still up, does get that knockdown. So it's a 1 versus 1 between Ronan and Algin bots down here to the south. Mad Dog is still knocked, hasn't quite been finished yet.
Cerberus, though, coming up the hill in the direction of Ronan, and they are looking to sweep the circle. They are one of the stronger teams with 4 players alive, and you can already get a sense of the strength that they have in this final zone. 2 players up towards the north, 2 players down towards the south. They hear the shots. They want to take advantage of an opportunity to third party, and they're kind of keeping an eye on things. Ronan is...
Oh my God.
He's going to cop a grenade. That was a blind one, I think, from Basil. I don't think he knew Ronan was there. And that is a very, very good toss, regardless, but I'm pretty sure it was blind.
Maybe might have peeked over, saw him, and then threw. But you're right, he was just throwing a couple before that around blindly. So maybe. Unfortunately for Fury, they weren't able to get much out of that duo. They did get 1 extra kill, and they also got the placement points. Don't forget about that, finishing in 5th place. Gets them up to 59. So 32 points behind LG Divine. That's the target for Fury for next weekend, and then, of course, the final weekend. It's not impossible with 16 games to go, so they got some work to do, but they're certainly in the race, along with the likes of Bureau Ram, Magic Esports, Cerberus, all still with a very high chance of catching LG Divine if that wonderful team does slip up at any point. Elgin Bots playing the snake in the grass role here, but is unsuccessful. Angel Alliance out in 4th place. They did pick up a few points here for the final game of the night, but compared to day number 1, very lackluster. Down to the final 3 teams, though, and everyone's pretty healthy. Purple Mood with 4, Cerberus with 4, Bureau Ram with 3. And they're now up to 4 kills, and I almost would have to back them in here against the 4 members of Purple Mood, who are the 2nd last place team. They do have the numerical advantage. Like, Godmeow does have to get that knock, and he does. That was Rocky Jims who was pushing forward, being that front man. Nordro, though, doesn't win his fight against Just Moments, and now that numbers advantage is quite substantial, and along with the fact that Cerberus are now making the push here, looking to third party, looking to get this chicken dinner. Edie has to be quick with this. Gets 1, gets a second one as well onto Boss Sense. There's 1 more just behind. Might go for the revive, but I don't think he's got the time to do this. I think it's going to be a win for Cerberus nonetheless. Bureau Ram are out in 3rd. They did pick up a few kills, and the very wounded Purple Mood are surely just fodder to Cerberus Esports.
Purple Mood's going to give his life up to the zone. That's a deny from him, and Cerberus will finish the day off.